to say 5 months. Yeah, it was a while ago. So that is.
That's literally the week right after DreamHack Austin.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of weeks after counting the delays for the season. But
all that said, we're actually just going to get into the match. Let's have them prove to us who's going to be the better team. Glaz already gone.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. What is Lion? Okay, also makes sense. Nothing surprising.
Yeah, of course, if you're Supremacy, if you're really any team that's playing against Vitality, you know Zephyr is playing on the team, just take the class away. You don't want to give him the opportunity to do damage with the OTS. We'll see our first defensive ban will be the Echo. If Vitality don't ban Echo, it's kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and they've struggled quite a bit. I watched Vitality playing against Supremacy and other French teams during the French Nationals a few months ago, and yeah, Echo pushes were so difficult for them once they try to come down onto the basement. Really any site that can be used with an Echo on it, and Mira will be the last operator to be banned. So far, maybe you can count the Glaz as a default ban, or you can say it as more of a specific ban towards Zephyr, but in general, the operators kind of are standard in terms of your ban.
Okay, so one thing I want to get into here is the fact that Supremacy is starting on defense. I feel like in their position, that's exactly where they want to be. The reason being is Bank is a decent site or decent map as a whole to defend. But more important than that, Supremacy has got to be feeling downtrodden after their horrible season so far.
And they have nothing to lose here.
Literally. They have absolutely nothing to lose, but also, I feel like they've been having trouble getting themselves into the flow of things. And on defense, it's just a little bit easier to find that flow. So if they're allowed to, if Vitality give them a little bit of leeway, maybe this is going to be Supremacy's upset match, just like what we saw with G2 and Penta.
Yeah, and what an upset it would be, that is for sure. But for now, we'll see how our first round will kick off, as we're going to start off with an FMG9 Smoke. Not even running the Team Liquid skin. So I'll fault you for that, Tectis.
I mean, you know, I guess the skin he is running is still nice, but
yeah,
at the same time, yeah, you're right. You got to run that. You got to rap, man.
In the rare times, they're going to run an FMG9.
Exactly. It's like, the skin is so rarely going to be used when it's available. Come on.
All right, we'll see how Alive sets things up here, as the only one really with a shotgun that'll help the setup early on. And usually Bank is a map that relies a lot on shotgun setups with smokes, and back in the day where you had both Smoke and the Mirror that would be playing together, just so you have enough time. But here, soft walls might actually come back to bite Supremacy once they go for potential retakes, because they won't have enough area that is opened up for them to go through and really used to their advantage when coming down onto the side. But Vitality just scanning around. As usual, they'll be taking their sweet time.
Yep. That's the trait that is also typical of Vitality. In the past, it actually worked for them. In this season, it really just hasn't. The setup by server is going to be a difficult one to deal with. You can see a shotgun Ella. So we always talk about how Ella's SMG is great at close range, but the shotgun is even more fearsome in much, much closer range.
Yeah, it is one of the best shotguns in the entire game. Possibly the best semi-auto shotgun.
It really shreds.
Yeah, and you know, back in the day, Latin America used to run the same position with Cav or even Valkyrie with the SPAS 12. We even saw that this season in Pro League play for Latin America. So it's still possible. It's doable. We see a lot of Ella play in that position, but there you go. First kill will be for Anthrax as he takes down Rafal, and I'm not sure where he actually got the shot on him. As maybe there was oh, there you go. So he takes him down by having an angle up through the elevator.
The elevator crack. You can see the little hole there. So as that Thermite went to vault into elevator, to Thermite the drop, no doubt, he died. Great job there to Anthrax.
Yeah, this push will probably go for a vault drop now with 4 players alive and not much in the way of utility, and even hard destruction. You still have Bride available here, so you can destroy the wall from the opposite end if you want to push. But when you see K6 holding on there and you drone him and seeing how much utility that has been set up by Supremacy in that exact position by the stairs, you know what, let's just bypass that completely and go the opposite end. But right now the problem is that they're kind of taking their time and a bit too much Vitality.
Yeah, they're a little fixated on the mute who is playing over by the elevator, rightfully so. I mean, he's in a very powerful position, but they're not really doing anything to solve this problem. They're just kind of pointing their barrels in his general direction and hoping he peeks into them. Luckily for Anthrax, he's not going to do that. He's playing very patiently, at least he has thus far. And the phone call's coming out. Zephyr's looking to possibly drop the lifeline for cover as well to disrupt these defenders. Gas canisters are the response, but they seem to be pretty far from the actual hot zone. They might not influence this at all. And here comes the actual push. Prox moving into the elevator hallway. He will do some damage and get the kill onto Tactis as Brit also gets alive. But Anthrax in the power play position will take 2 as Spark takes out his teammate. He's not able to get any more. K6 able to secure Spark though. And it's a 1 versus 1, sister on sister, and K6 wins it with the secondary out.
I don't know what to say about that round. Like, it was all in the hands of Supremacy, right? Everything was mistimed from Vitality when it comes to the drop. Usually a drop into Gold Vault takes a lot of timing on your utility use. If you mistime them, then maybe your smokes are set in incorrect positions, your Zofia Gizmots won't impact in the correct spots, and there you won't have too much of an effect on the defenders. Now, they saw the mute that was sitting in the elevator shaft, but they didn't do anything against him until he pounced up and got 2 kills off of it and, you know, did quite a bit of damage after it. And then they left the Ella all on her own, who rotated back from the servers and finished things off. FO12 or the RG15 both do quite a considerable amount of damage. And you saw there, you mentioned it, the sister rivalry. And in that case, the Ella on Supremacy's end was able to take a very sloppy round from Vitality.
Yeah, certainly. I think... Okay, you know, the entire strategy is a risk, no matter how you look at it. You lose your thermite, trying to open up that elevator drop down, and it becomes even more risky because you cannot use elevator to your advantage. In fact, it works the opposite direction because Anthrax is playing there. He was able to get 3 kills, 2 of them, well, all 3 from that position, 2 of them on the actual push. Now, apart from that, I can understand why the push was called like that from Vitality. I disagree with the reasoning, though. I imagine it comes down to, hey, you've got an L on server stairs, it's going to be hard to push into that. 3 ADSs, they saw it early on, they called it. Sure, avoid it, but I don't know. It's like taking a standard push that's become a little bit more complicated, and instead of dealing with that complication, you're going to go for an entirely risky push. I mean...
And we've seen, like, the counterplay work very well in the past where you just open up the hatch from Skylight, and are able to either drop from there, come in from the sewers, and then contest it, especially since you already droned in and should be seeing how things are set up downstairs. At least open the hatch and see how things go.
Or open up the open area hatch, the small office hatch. Apply some pressure to the site, force the rotation from the Ella, cut off that rotation from opening the server hatch. I mean, you don't even need to take server to make a successful push onto the A-bomb side, but instead, they chose to go for B, and after losing Thermite, it was just not feasible. Now, all said and done now, and we move on to round number 2, CEO defense, the next site for Supremacy.
Bride will try to contest at range against Alive on the dock. Will not connect with the shots, but there's also Zephyr that is set up with a cross angle. Of course, we're playing upstairs defense in the CEO chamber. So Bride will just come in, gather information. Now, a lot of times you'll see the castle being played here, and indeed this is the case for Supremacy, but you see the position where the dock is set up on the top. Usually there's at least 2 castle barricades that are set up there to make things a lot more complicated for the attackers to be able to push him away. There's only one that's set up to cover him on the eventual rotation back onto the site, but that angle is very difficult to find for the attackers, and Zephyr just completely forgoes it.
Yeah, you could see that Zephyr's looking for some fights, but he's not able to get them right now. You can see Supremacy playing very safe, and that's the thing that they did in the first round, now being repeated. They do not peek unnecessary angles, and they know they're playing against Vitality, a notoriously slow team, and I think that's a great call for Supremacy. If you don't need to take a fight, don't take it. And this is a dangerous call for Dejus playing at the top of these stairs. Spark's going to take Alive out inside a reception, and that is a great entry for Vitality to have. The second will not happen in the immediate for Vitality. Dejus and Zephyr both missing their shots, and we'll walk away from that fight.
P226 here being used instead of the SMG-11. I mean, I know the SMG-11 has been nerfed, but My God, pistol on the smoke.
It makes sense for the Bearing 9. It's less sensible for the SMG-11, but it's really personal preference, I suppose, at this point.
I guess. But DeJeus now has rotated into the skylight, so he can contest from the opposite end and maybe deny the thermite opener here from Rafal. As right now, he just moves up, he sprays in. Not much damage done as DeJeus instantly downed by Aprox. Of course, usually your player from Death Row who are qualified even for the 6 Cup.
You know, it doesn't look like the attackers are aware that they've downed the Jaeger because they're not going to secure the kill. The diffuser the diffuse is being planted just inside of CEO thanks to the open wall. Zephyr is going to take out Anthrax. The smoke cover is excellent here, but Vitality also are going to cover the rotations as their attempted rush from Supremacy is thwarted. There are only 2 defenders by the square skylight. And this retake is not going to be an easy one. Aprox will stop K6, and Zephyr takes out DeJeus. A perfect round for Vitality. A plant just inside of the B-bomb site.
Yeah, the smoke at the end there just kind of sat in his own canister, and unfortunately wasn't able to connect his couple shots with the shotgun. There was already the cross angles that have been set up in post-plant positions by the attacking side of Vitality, and they had everything on point and covered. Supremacy didn't really have much of a shot there for the retake. So, Vitality, much better execution on the second round. I think using the Dokkaebi calls was perfect, so they were able to push the Jaeger back and get the kill on the dock.
Also, their smoke coverage was excellent. It was so smoked up in there when I was spectating them, I thought they were planting just inside of CEO, but no, in fact, it was over by reception in the lounge, and that is so much information being denied to the defenders. And you saw Supremacy try to rush it. They were just like, okay, well, we can't play the angles that we need to, we force this issue and deny that diffuse plant. They just rushed through the smoke, and they lost so many lives because of that. It's not an acceptable counter in that scenario. What needed to happen is, just C4, Yokai Throne, sorry, pardon me, Echo's Band, Maestro Camera, Evil Eye, smoke, gas canisters, some kind of anti-plant needed to be pulled out. But not so for Supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at how CEO was smoked there, and you're like, wow, is this Canada on the midnight of October 17th? So it's a fairly interesting way of going for the attack.
Is that legalization?
Yes.
Oh.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
That's a reference.
I heard about that. I didn't read much about it.
Parker kind of went on and on and on and on.
Oh, okay.
I wonder why.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now Spark is going to come in from the outside yet again, and we'll see how this attack will fare for Vitality, as there we go. That's why you bring the IQ. Easy way of destroying the Valkyrie cams that have been set up by Alive. And in the meantime, it's Anthrax that'll try to set up for impact holes here to take down any utility from the opposite end. ADS will be taken away as the DeJeus will fall back. Very smart here to not leave his very precious utility.
Yeah, I appreciate him salvaging that. Could have just been a wasted ADS, but no, not when DeJeus is playing on it. So, pushed off of his location, but it was really kind of an out of sight roaming spot that wasn't essential. Able to deny the push from the main lobby somewhat, but he's going to have to work it in sight as best as possible. The pulse downstairs of K6 has been called out by Spark, so good information here for Vitality, and Zephyr keen to clear out this pulse as Rafael drones him in. Well, it's good information gathered from Vitality, and the phone call is going to amplify that. Now, the push should be a lot easier, but curiously, they're actually not going for the pulse. They're kind of dancing around him. This is odd. They droned him, they spotted him with the IQ, they phone called him, and they didn't push him.
I'm unsure of that. Yeah, and now the shoes on the Jaeger just moves in, should get spotted by the drone. K6 has rotated away from the archives. He's going to be playing behind the skylight now as Spark scanning in, won't find much. The second call will come in, and this should definitely force the 2 defenders back. In the meantime, ground is being taken by Vitality, but they're not able to get frags to secure those positions against any potential retakes from their opponents, or even flanks.
Yeah. Supremacy's got it all in their way right now, and DeJeus from the top of the middle stairs will take down Zephyr. Excellent angle to be playing there at that moment. Alive also eliminates Sparks, so Vitality's starting to lose manpower here rapidly. We've only got so much time left to make this push really happen. Prox is going to be coming up from behind Dejuz, but Dejuz is ready. And an even exchange. Tectis, though, for the backup, will take down a Prox using that pistol. Still as lethal as the SMG-11 or so he's proving in this round. Alive gets his second and his third. Brit goes down following Rafael, and Supremacy take their defense of the top floor.
So you see, no manpower advantage for Vitality meant that they always had to watch their flanks. And because of that, their rifles were not trailed on the exact position that they should be, which is literally the site itself.
I have to say, without any question in my mind, that round was lost to Vitality due to them being just a little bit too slow. They did not commit themselves to any potential advantage they could have gathered. Nope. The Jaeger of Dejuz was playing far too aggressively. He presented himself as a potential kill many times, so whether we're playing on the main stairs or peeking from the elevator hall into main lobby. These are risks that he shouldn't be taking, and Vitality is not seizing that thread that is being extended by Supremacy. Not only that, but also the Pulse, who was playing downstairs, K6, he was droned out, he was IQ censored, he would all the things to gather information on that player.
His mom was yelling at him from the opposite side of the map.
Absolutely, and they did not push him. They knew. Pulse, under bomb site, full information, not pushing him. That process, that decision-making process for Vitality, in my mind, is very confusing.
Yeah. I mean, we know they're usually a slow team, but my God.
Well, no, it's not about how slow they are necessarily. It's about the fact that they just decided not to clear out a Pulse under the site. Even if you win your fights, you get site control, you start to the fuse plant, there's still a Pulse below you. I mean, I don't know how else to put that.
These mistakes, this is the thing, because we should not be seeing these mistakes from Vitality. This is a team that has proven in the past, time and time again, how tough and strong they are. And these sorts of basics are, that are not being executed correctly are mind-boggling. Even with the team not having done so well in this season.
Well, it's only one mistake, and this match is far from over. We'll see if, only one mistake in that round. We'll see if Vitality are able to bring it back. Of course, it's far from over.
Yeah.
Certainly far from over. Supremacy have been playing pretty well, though. I really appreciate that Supremacy is clearly aware of how Vitality operates, and they're playing very slow because of that. That is good calculation from Supremacy. Means they did their research for this match. Now, that said, they still have lost a round, and it's not a definitive advantage. I'm just happy to see Supremacy putting up a fight here, to be honest. So, push over towards the square skylight. Brid pretty much by himself right now. He's looking for any kills that he can get. He's aware, I'm sure, that the Ella is playing on those server stairs. But this time, instead of going elsewhere, Vitality seemed keen to confront this server hold.
Yeah, and Dejuz is going to just play behind the servers. He, of course, has K6 as well on the Ella to hold in with the FO12. And this is what we were mentioning before. You want to push them back, open the hatch, and usually that instantly props the retreat. And there you go. Exactly the case. Don't go for the vault drop in this situation.
So, the Ella forced off those stairs. Pretty interesting. A lot of utility being committed, and just a few Grzmats from the lifeline is all it takes to force the Ella back. Ultimately, the right call, though, for Supremacy, as you could see, there's only a minute left. So it was a calculated retreat. Not necessarily a pressured retreat, but the right call, in fact, just from the defense. And I think it plays more into, hey, we know Vitality's a slow team. Let's use that.
Yeah, and here the thing with Supremacy is that they are not running the Pulse. If they did, then information could be gathered much easier from Gold Vault, whereas they will destroy the camera here set up by the Maestro, the Evil Eye. Gas canister will get expended, but Rafael should have an easy way to go for the plant. I guess there's information that is not being relayed, and Rafael will just go for an easy plant. A 20-second plant from Vitality, that's like 3 years left on the clock. A Spark will get one more on to Dejuz. He'll take down the Jaeger here, just a bit of damage done to the Thermite of Rafale through the smoke, and they'll hold the top side. There you go. Mute is down, and Proximity will get one of each. All now up to K6. Was just taken out by Ride. Easy here on the Zofia, and Vitality, classic textbook attack on to the basement bank.
Classic textbook attack from Vitality and a classic textbook setup from Supremacy, but Supremacy didn't use any of their utility to deny the plant. They tried with the smoke. They did throw their gas canisters. They missed their throws, and the Thermite was allowed to plant in deep. There's not much more to say about that. They had C4s. They could have killed the Thermite. They decided not to use those C4s. The really confusing thing to me is you made a funny joke. It was hilarious, by the way. It's 20-second plant from Vitality. It's like having 3 years left on the clock, which is true. Usually Vitality plants like the last 2 seconds. But Supremacy had enough C4 and enough utility in general to deny that plant for those last 20 seconds if they were being wasteful. If they had just been lobbing C4s willy-nilly, they still probably could have denied the last 20 seconds, and they chose not to.
And this is what they do now. They bring the pulse.
Yeah, well, the good rotation from Supremacy. That's going to make their job a lot easier. They've also brought a Valkyrie in lieu of a Maestro, but just in general, now they have the information, sure, but even without the information in that last round, I'm telling you, like, they didn't need it. This is a simple calculation. We've got these C4s. There's only 20 seconds left. Let's deny the plan.
Chuck one of them and see what comes up on the other end.
So, even round count. Supremacy going to go back to the basement, and as you said, they have decided to, very wise, adapt their operator lineup and bring ones that will favor them quite a lot more on this hole. They have now 3 C4s to deny the defuse plant, 2 operators that will be gathering information directly on that default plant spot, and yeah, this is going to be, I'm sure, a much better setup for Supremacy.
And now K6 has set things up with his black eyes, so he'll have a bit of extra information to gather. That camera that was set on the bottom of the desk be a big help for them later. Of course, there's no IQ in play, but the big thing of why you bring the Maestro over the Valkyrie when you're setting up for a static defense is that you can see through the smoke. And yeah, there's a few spots where you can have the Maestro Evil Eye in a position where you won't really be expending too much utility to try to take it down as the attackers, but here's smart from Vitality. They bring both the Ashe and the Zofia. Now, I was having this conversation just a couple of days ago, and why would you pick the Ashe over the Zofia, or why you put her in that position, because Zofia does so much? Well, it's mostly to deal with those Maestro cams as well, not just the 3-speed or the gun or whatever. It's just the explosive radius on her charge is bigger. So it means that even if you miss your shot on the Evil Eye, or it's set in a position that's a bit complicated to reach, you'll have a higher chance of actually taking it down compared to an impact direct one from the Zofia.
Well, it's also nice sometimes just to have 4 instead of 2.
Yeah.
If you need that stop destruction, then it can be really handy, especially with the way that the defense has been setting themselves up. It helps you with server stairs. Deju's first kill. Aprox goes down as he attempts to push down the main staircase. I'm not really sure what Aprox was thinking there, but no.
Oh,
he was just back on the drop down. Okay, interesting. Well, that's much more sensible, but it's also a death for Aprox, and a great angle for Deju's. Good job to him, giving his team an advantage early on.
Yeah, K6 just setting up here in the red hallway, so he does have ADS next to him to save it, as well as a mute jammer.
You could tell that K6 is not willing to make the same mistake that Supremacy made last round. He's got his C4 already pre-ripped. He's like, nah, you're not planting. We're not losing because of that again.
Yeah, and they have to be afraid about anybody that's playing from the hatch. C4 will get thrown up, and unfortunately this... Oh, no, it does hit the Habana, and Spark is now down on the floor. No, so they hit the Habana with the Jaeger. So now the Habana is down. One angle, you don't have to worry about it anymore, and that's the Fuser down as Rafale is taken out of play. No more Thermite. Spark will get brought up, and it'll be a refrag here to take down the Jaeger. Diffuser will get picked up again as the smoke will get thrown in. Same thing for the canisters on the opposite end. Technis will double up with 2 to try and take down Zephyr here. Will have to run away. C4 will hit, and Technis will get the kill. No finalization here in a 1v3. Bride will get 1, can't get the last 2 as Technis comes in. under 10 seconds left on the clock, and this time Vitality are given no quarters. Supremacy just diving in for the kill.
Yeah, I really appreciate Supremacy using all their utility there in the dying seconds of the round. You could see that they were not willing to make the same mistake they made last time. And good job. That is them consciously making the decision to adapt, and I appreciate that from Supremacy. It got them the round win. Vitality, on the other hand, while they did much more efficiently take the server, that was mostly due to the difference in the setup from Supremacy. And after they had taken the server, their attack strategy was very much the same as it was in the previous round. So repeating yourself leaves you open to being predicted, and, well, Supremacy did just that. They predicted the strategy, they countered it appropriately, and round one. Lockers, the first defense for Vitality. They will go to the basement after losing the first half.
Yeah, we'll see how Vitality change things up here as they'll be bringing the Clash. It's always interesting to see as the Operator has seen quite a bit of play and a bit of bans here and there. I think she's now at 15% from we saw at the start.
Something like that, yeah.
So Clash definitely brings a lot to the table, but you don't want to play it like we saw in one particular round from Chaos, not about a couple games ago, where you just try to rush her out and play with the SMG. You have to have her either holding off hallways or playing angles with her teammates that are behind her to support. So having that behind her means that you can capitalize on the kill. You play her just like as you would run a Monty, basically on the attack, but just you have the added bonus of being able to even slow down your opponents.
So, Vitality likely to use that Clash, I'm guessing, to help with the server hold, so it seems right now. Leaning heavily into this, and we've seen teams do it before. Supremacy did it on their defensive half. We saw it a couple days ago. What's up?
Supremacy, I'm bringing a Zofia.
True. Yeah, that is a little bit odd. No Zofia here. One of the most, I think, the most played attacker in LATAM and Europe. So surprising, but not the craziest thing, I guess. It's just different. They are bringing in Ashe, so I guess a little bit more pure fragging power, but less utility being brought for the attack. Is that a suppressed R4C?
Yes, I know. I said the same thing like a billion times right now, but Alive always runs suppressed stuff, and
okay,
it's a choice. I don't know, man. It's a free world.
True.
I know.
So the Thatcher is going to clear out any potential ADSs on this stairs. And the Ashe Charge will take down the shield. Anthrax also going to open up the drop down. This is a very well orchestrated take onto the server thus far, but when the actual contact happens is what really matters. The Grzmat from Ella will disorient Alive, forcing him to fall back, but there is no kill for the defense as a result. Likely a replace Grzmat, and yes, there will be. Spark will this time finally get the kill onto the Ashe as Alive commits fully to his peek. Clash doing a lot of work there, slowing the Ashe as he attempted to peek into the server's stairwell. Now, Supremacy find themselves at a man disadvantage, and it looks like Zafira is not keen to let up on that push. Although, speaking of pushes, is K6 actually being watched? There might be someone to his left, but there's nobody watching him directly. In fact, it's no. To the left, clear. To the right, approx. It all comes down to timing here for K6. If he seizes this opportunity, it could be an easy kill and follow-up. He gets a prox, but there's nobody to hold him. If he simply pushes, he could find himself behind the entire team. But he's choosing not to. Solo on HP, but he will not seize the opportunity.
Deju's now holding on to the hatch of the admin office. 40 seconds on the clock as Supremacy are looking for the push. They've only been able to take down the Jaeger, and they did that at the cost of a lot of health on their Jackal, but Spark will get one. He tries to engage the second. That's already Bride to get the kill on Dejuz as the attacking side of Supremacy are kind of dropping everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Anthrax and Gold Vault Solo will go down. K6 last alive as Spark Nom Noms on him with the Scorpion Evo, and yeah, that was...
I honestly don't even know what I just watched.
This round, this is the only way to describe. This is pretty much like watching a ranked game.
I mean,
Each one on his own?
Yeah.
What is that?
The attack wasn't just coming from multiple different places. The attack was all over the place. They were like, it's like somebody took somebody stuck their hand in a bottle, in a bucket of paint, and just flicked at the canvas and said, "Art." That was Supremacy in that last round, and I mean, no, and it didn't work. So very confusing the way that Supremacy chose to play that. I feel like if they had just focused on pushing one thing, they might have seen a different result, because their actual the mechanics that they employed, the utility that they used to push Vitality out of server seemed right, appropriate, and it seemed to be working to an extent. Yeah, they lost the Ashe, but it was working to an extent. And they couldn't handle the Clash because they didn't have the Zofia, so that was a problem. But there were other solutions they could have probably employed. Another thing that is a little confusing, we saw Jujuz rotate to the drop down to attempt to cut off the rotation of the Ela, but he did it as the Ela was rotating, and he missed his opportunity. Usually you put the guy on the drop down before you even push server. He's there, ready to cut off rotation, and he gets the kill because of that, but no, not this time. And I mean, I'm not sure why you're pushing server so fiercely if you're going to rotate over to the main lobby drop-downs. I don't know what the thought process was there for Supremacy. I do know that it was likely because of the Clash that they didn't fully commit to the server take, but I gotta say, there are solutions to that problem. Yes, I know you don't have Zofia, but you can still kill a Clash. You just gotta figure it out. You gotta figure out the strategy you want to use, commit to it, and follow through.
Yeah, unfortunately there was really no follow through, as you put it. It was just kind of, hey, let's scrape something together and try to find.
And changing is good, but as a team.
Yes.
As a whole team, as a unit.
You make a decision as a unit, and unfortunately here, it was a hell of a unit. It did not work out at all, and we'll see how Supremacy set up for this as the hatch will get opened up here in Janitor. I'll have a bit of a better angle to deal with Archives as Alive will move in with yet again his suppressed R4C, and has breaching rounds, of course, to open up castle barricades or anything. To contest his opponents inside of the Archives, but there's also some sort of hold in and around the open area that can be used, and not the entirety of the wall is reinforced. So it allows for rotations, but I'm a fan of leaving the admin office plus Archives wall soft, at least half of it, instead of this, because this can open you up to a lot of bad things.
Yeah, this is a little bit dangerous, but it's workable. You could see that the defense of Vitality is very aware that the push is coming from Square Skylight. They've centered a lot of their players around there because of that. Downstairs, Afir is going to eat some damage and put very low. Easily killed moving forward. This is curious. Supremacy, yet again, are spread thin. They've got players from Square Skylight to main lobby. The diffusers by main lobby by itself. Anthrax all alone in that position. Very dangerous. They are opening up above, so this is good. They're managing to force Vitality into bad positions. If they can get some kills, it's even better. Overall, though, the attack strategy working out for Supremacy because Vitality is choosing not to lash out. If they do, and they manage to get a kill or so, there's not likely to be many refrags. Alive going to catch one player in rotation, that's Brid. And here we go, Supremacy looking good.
He's going to try to find the second one as he has some info on Apox in the back. But Zephyr is ready to pounce. He's low on health, but he can definitely get this shot here if he's given the information. Alive just dives into the site, and now Zephyr cannot contest Alive as easily. And the site is in the hold of Supremacy as K6 gets one more. Gafal will get the refrag at the cost of a ton of health here. Habana moving in and gets the finisher, and all up to Zephyr. Low on health and now 1v3. Gets the dive on Tactus, but the diffuser is not set just yet. Flashes and utility will get thrown in as Antrax go for the plant. He's trying to go in. There's little time left. If he can actually shut this down here, it'll be the play of the century as Zephyr is looking for the angle. User impacts, my man. You can make it. He'll move in finally. He'll take down the Habana. Not the Thermite, unfortunately, and it's Anthrax to get the clutch on the Thermite, and Supremacy will take the round. Diffuser set at the very last second, but that could have turned very differently. There was a Maestro camera that was giving them information, and even then, He decided to crawl instead of impact and dive in for that anti-diffuser play with little time left.
I get the need. I get the need for stealth. Like your position's not given away. Sure, you caught the Habana unawares. But wow, you do not have time for that play, man. You have 2 impacts. He used his F key to open the castle barricade instead of impacting it. Why? Like, you would... Okay, if he impacts the castle barricade in kitchen, he then has time to go for the stealth play and prone through that wall instead of impacting it. But he didn't. He might even further, more than that, he might have been able to catch the Thermite who's pushing through Teller's door if he hadn't opened the castle barricade as slowly as possible. So many confusing decisions being made by the defense in that round. Another thing. We didn't even talk about this. Supremacy was spread as thin as possible. They had 1 guy in main lobby, 1 guy by square skylight. The last 3 were upstairs. At any point, if any of the many roamers that the defense had in play chose to try and pinch the main lobby player or the player who is pushing from square skylight that's alive, before they started doing damage, I mean, the main lobby guy didn't do anything, but Alive did. Before they start doing damage, the round is over. You've taken away one of the prongs of the attack from Supremacy, and it will make your life so much easier. But they didn't. They were too cautious. They didn't lash out at any point. They just waited.
And they had the information on Alive, who later on got the kill in Archives.
Yeah.
And just the alibi just slowly peeks out as you're... I don't know. I think yet again, for yet another round, we can dig very deeply into all of these questionable decisions. But we'll see if there's a change in this one, as here's Tactis is just going to go around and shut down as much of the utility as possible. Of course, this time we're going to be playing upstairs in the CEO. That is a tiny angle that you can play. And he's trying to find somebody in the back, but there's no pixel to find.
If he waits here long enough, he's very likely to get a kill. That's a huge rotation lane for the defense that he's been cutting off from that angle. Push in through Stock, and Rafael will shut it down with a kill onto K6. No follow-up from Anthrax. Interesting. Waiting for the counter peek from Storage, but it's not going to happen. Jaeger being patient, that's the right call for a prox in this scenario.
Yeah, now Anthrax is on his own in the trading room, and having lost the Jackal, they're going to have a bit of a harder time to find any potential roam play from Vitality. In this case, there's practically none, I guess, but there you go. You're talking about the angle, Spark will go down.
Nobody's holding Meeting Hall, and as Rafael realizes this, he will die, and because he was not in the right position, a prox will die as well. Excellent play from Alive. Brid finally shuts him down, but the damage is done. Advantage Supremacy now, as they have still plenty of time to continue to attack this site. Brid has taken up Meeting Hall, the essential position, and he will win the fight against Anthrax. Curious that he's able to do that.
That's the Fuser.
The Fuser is down now, as Anthrax was all by himself. Supremacy will have to retrieve it, and they're not in a good position, either of these attackers, to do that. Tactis has yet to do anything from this window, and he's been there the entire round. Dejus will Excaros the castle barricade and start working his way into the executive hallway. Flashbangs go wide into CEO, and they will likely blind Zephyr, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a follow-up kill because Zephyr is playing extremely passive. No, I spoke too soon. Tactics takes down Zephyr, and it's all up to Brid now. The castle to clutch in the 1 versus 2. He made it work earlier against Anthrax. He knows he has the diffuser. He's waiting for the push from Meeting Hall. He will land a couple shots onto his opponents, light up both Dejus and Tactis, but the follow-up from Tactis is just too strong. The win for Supremacy as the wide peak comes out.
My God. Alive allowed again to do the damage, and the white peak from the castle ends up working against Vitality. The IQ on the outside got 2 kills in that round. You mentioned the very first angle, and she was able to get a kill off of it, but Alive, how is he allowed for the second round in a row to just waltz in and get 2 kills?
You know, starting the day, I was looking at the history of Supremacy, and I noticed that over the last 3 matches, Supremacy have been progressively getting more and more round wins in their matches. Against Chaos, it ended 1-6. Against Secret, it ended 2-6. Against Millennium, their most recent match, it ended 3-6. And I thought to myself, hey, maybe this is going to be 4-6, and then on the last match of their season, Supremacy would be able to get a 5 at the least and get a draw. It was going to go that way. But it seems they're ramping things up here as they're now 5-3 Supremacy's favor, and they are angling for their very first win in this season. And at the least, they're going to get a draw. Today is the day of opposites, my friends, as G2 lost and Supremacy are winning.
And by 2 rounds, which means that even if they mess up one, they have another one to fix it.
Yep.
So it's still possible. I mean, the big thing is that obviously Supremacy only got 2 points throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
So there's no way for them to come back even with this victory. But my God.
Supremacy is out. They're done. Yeah. But at the same time,
this does not bode well for Vitality, because if they lose here, then, I mean, already a tie here and a win next week, which will be their game against Penta Sports, which is not an easy game at all.
No, Penta just beat G2.
Yeah, so it won't be an easy game at all. That already barely gives them a tie with Chaos to possibly push them to the 7th spot, and even then, the rounds are not in their favor. Vitality losing today means they get that 7th spot no matter what, and they are in relegations. They'll have to fight against one of the 4 teams that maybe move through the playoffs of Challenger League, and that is not a spot anyone would have thought Vitality would be in. It reminds us all of ENCE's play in Season 7.
Yeah, actually, so Vitality's in 9 points right now. If they lose this match, they end at 9 points, and they cannot get up to that 6th spot, which means they will be in the relegation position.
Indeed.
No auto-relegation, but they'll have to fight for their position in Pro League. And if Chaos, in their final match of the season, are able to get a draw or a win, then again, there's nothing that Vitality can do. Vitality needed to win here, and they can't now. They can at the most get a single point here, which means they are very, very likely going to be the second relegated team from Europe following Supremacy, their current opponents.
Yeah, they are teetering on the edge here, as right now they will have to defend against Supremacy's onslaught. You'll see the hatch immediately open to try and push the Clash back. And the Clash, realizing that is the case, then she will not be falling back at all. As you already see, there's an Ella behind to support. See how Supremacy try to deal with this here, as you need to hold the angles, the Crossfire.
So, Supremacy trying to take control of this server. The Clash doing tremendous work in denying that, but Supremacy is not dissuaded. They have the Zofia this time, which is the right tool. Tactus is looking for an opportunity. He actually might be able to push behind these servers players. There's nobody watching for this. And it's an eventuality that someone's going to push through the server tunnel. Why is Tactus not seizing this opportunity? I'll tell you why. Nobody's droning for him. What is going on with this push, and how is it still somehow not able to take control of server? Alive will land the shot onto Spark after Spark gets one. K6 from behind will finish off Saphir. So finally, Supremacy have server, but it took them 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and almost 20 seconds. So, wow. And all that was needed there was one drone and saying, hey, nobody's actually watching server push.
I mean, he even if he had that, he was afraid of the barbed wire to not give away his position. But now the Zeus will try to reset by the stairs and try to hold the Crossfire and at least the rotation from the back. As of course Vitality are 1 man down, and Supremacy having lost the Thermite, this actually might spell disaster. Their only Heart Breacher is on the opposite side near Deju, so they'll have to just charge in and go for a plant, even just the kills. There you go, K6 with 1. 3-Day with the refrag. As Alive will try to go for the plant in the midst of all of this action. They're holding on to the rotation as Rafal will get 1. Rafal will deny it as Vitality take the round against them. Supremacy fail at the end of the push because their only Hard Breacher was on the opposite side, and they had the Thermite die to the Ella through the hatch when they had the IQ moving in from the sewers and had the Crossfire angle on both the Ella and the Clash with the Zofia up top.
That and the server push just in general took forever. I mean, it worked in the end, I guess. They lost a body for it, but it took so long. And yeah,
This is what I was afraid of. This, in my mind, would have either been a sweep for Vitality, like 6-1, 6-2,
yeah.
or one of the hardest slogs in the history of Pro League.
There have been. I know that it sounds like we're tearing into these teams, and I want to assure you that we aren't even touching the surface of how many mistakes are being made right now. We're trying to highlight as many of the more, apparent ones, but this is a really bad match for both teams.
And Vitality head for open area.
So that's interesting. We haven't seen open yet. This could be the shift that they need in order to get the victory. This could catch Supremacy off guard enough to get the win. I think it's reasonable to assume.
Mm-hmm.
And I say win, I mean on the round. Vitality can't win the match. They need to draw this if they want to have any kind of hope of getting out of relegation.
And it would require Chaos to tie next week, and even then.
No. If Chaos ties next week, they still.
No. Like they require the tie and Chaos to lose the match next week.
Yes.
To be able to even have a hope in hell in tying. But I will check in the meantime for the score lines between the two teams to be sure on if it is even possible to win off of a tie.
No matter what, it's very unlikely Vitality is going to get out of the position they find themselves in right now, and that's 7th place. So, we see the final attempt for Supremacy, and it will be an open area attack. The first one of this map. What will they give us? Looks like it's going to be a large focus on clearing the top floor. Rightfully so, the very common attack strategy that we so often see employed here.
I will add to this. So in the very first half of the season, they tied 5-5 against Chaos. In the second half in week 12, so last week, it was a 6-2 win for Chaos. So even if there's a tie, it's impossible for Vitality to take that 6th spot off of them. So a tie here today might not even be enough.
So Vitality in a really, really tricky spot. It's likely that they will be in the 2nd relegation position. They will have to fight those relegation matches, very likely, to keep themselves in Pro League. All that said, though, this match is not over. Rafael will eat quite a lot of damage as he attempts to rotate into Dellers. On 1 bullet's worth of HP now, he is not as fearsome as he once was as a 3 armor. Not going to have that speed to aid him.
Tactus just moving in from the back. We saw the amount of damage that Alive could do through this position when they were attacking into the archives, and Tactus finds the angle. Rafael will get taken down. An easy finisher on the Maestro. They've already spotted the 2nd player in the back, and Tactus and Alive will both try to deal with him as he is popped here and spotted by the Jackal. They'll move in closely as he rotates back into the open area through the admin desk.
Live looking for those angles. Tactus as well, playing inside of Archives. This is a very powerful position. He's going to cut off a lot of rotations, but he misses quite a few shots. Brid lit up, but not finished off. And he will be able to play deep inside of open area. This is an odd open setup. After the kitchen wall had been opened up, though, and doubly so, you don't really have a choice in how you hold this. Spark will deny the 2nd thermite charge. Huge, but will it be enough is the question. Now the attackers know that Spark is playing far off site. The marks coming inside of open area are going to allow Alive to get a single kill into a Prox. K6 onto Brid as well, so the far open area player dead. Castle of Zafir is still playing deep inside of A, and he's now the last defender as Spark gets eliminated on the flank. Supremacy look poised to win this, and they certainly will. DeJus gets the final kill. Supremacy, their very first win in Pro League. And it's all for naught. He will neither change their position nor Vitality's. He will do absolutely nothing to maintain their position in Pro League. But posterity win, I guess.
It confirms it. Vitality are in relegations, and there is literally no hope in hell for them to make it out of that 7th spot. They will have to face it, and quite probably and possibly against the duo of ENCE and Empire and or. They still haven't gone through the final stages of Challenger League. That'll be done by next week, and the bracket and the playoffs after it. But those two teams are looking poised for it, and my God, you're not going to like fighting against Empire and or ENCE because both teams are hungry to come back into Pro League.
I can hear Supremacy right now screaming at the top of their lungs, if we're going down, you're coming with us.
Oh boy, yes.
Because that's what we just saw. that win gains Supremacy absolutely nothing. Like nada. So Vitality on the other hand, that just secured their spot in those relegations. Vitality at least gets to fight for their position. Supremacy is gone; they're done.
Yeah.
But Vitality still has a chance. It's just going to be, I think, a really tricky one. Like you say, ENCE and Empire both very powerful teams in the European. European Challenger League right now looks fearsome.
Yeah, they're not confirmed as the two teams just yet. They're still...
Well, they're just two of the many, is what we're trying to get at.
They're still train hard, for example, and they're fighting for their spots to move through Challenger League. And after next week, we'll see who goes to the playoffs, as part of those matches will be casted on the official channel here. So you'll get to see a lot of the strength that are available in Challenger League and EU. And ever since the beginning, EUCL has always been a tough spot to be in for any team. Supremacy came into Pro League off of Challenger League as well from the relegations in season as well. So now they're auto-relegated. Their spot will go for the very first team that wins off of the playoffs. But no matter what, it looks like with Empire being number 1 and ENCE being at number 2, they won't be facing against one another again until the grand final. And no matter what happens, if you have to face ENCE or Empire, both teams, my God, they have been playing out of their minds. We've seen two players that have been poised to take all of this. Una on ENCE, Joystick on Empire. These are players that you should not toy with. And Vitality, oh my God.
And if I'm not mistaken, we saw on Twitter, I think, an announcement recently where Shate is making a comeback to ENCE. He's
literally
back on.
2 hours ago.
Blaz is off the roster. Unfortunate. I wanted to see what would happen with him, but
I think he moves on to the inactive part, just like
we don't know the actual
sure.
details, but at least we know that Shate is taking that main lineup spot. So that transition happening puts ENCE in a different spot, possibly more formidable, possibly less. We'll find out, of course, once those matches start to play out. But all that said, let's back up to this match for a second. Vitality Supremacy, what we witnessed in that match, that had to be one of the most all over the place matches I've ever seen in Rainbow Six Pro League. It was pretty crazy. Both teams were playing oddly, and it was confusing. The strategies were kind of all over the place. We saw a lot of repeats, and those repeats became predicted easily. Supremacy proved to be the more adaptable of the two teams. I have to say that quite definitively. And that's also confusing in a sense because you don't expect that of them. I mean, that is their first win ever, and it comes in the second to last play day.
A win, 2 ties, and 10 losses.
So, and it doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah.
But at least they did it. But why now? Why now are they getting away? They just dragged Vitality down with them. It's like they sunk their claws into Vitality's heels as they fall off a cliff, and that's what I feel like I just witnessed. And it was sloppy, and it was messy. It was something.
This is, and spoilers by the way, if you haven't watched the movie like 35 years ago, this is like The Lion King.
Okay, sure.
I will take you down with me.
Okay.
There you go.
I mean, no matter how you look at it.
Millennium standing on top, they're like, Dad, no! And as Vitality falls off the cliff, it changes things.
In a way, they're kind of related because they're both, French teams. So, yeah, you could argue that. Sure. Overall, weird match. It's done now, though.
Yeah, we still have an exciting one. So, don't go anywhere, as we're waiting on information here to see if we could get an interview up with Supremacy. Of course, it is their first interview that they've had so far. We will remind you, this is their first win in 13 playdays.
Yeah, Supremacy's never gone through the interview process before, so I'm sure it's very shocking, and they're trying to figure it out. Right now, it's step by step.
Last time we had the interview, it was me interviewing them.
Yeah.
And it was the Challenger League qualifier into Pro League.
Okay, so I say before. I mean, in this season.
Yes, like
to clarify.
that was the last time that they had it, and that was the end of season 7.
Oh boy!
Literally in was that post invitation? It was like February or March. Anyways, we will have an interview, and Anthrax is joining us. Bonsoir, Anthrax. How are you?
Bonsoir. I'm fine, and you?
Pretty good. It's a very surprising win there at the end, looking at the track history. But I have to say, there was quite a few mistakes done by both teams that we really were remarking. Now, I want to touch up on the highlights of the team. Every single time, Alive was just allowed to walk in, get free kills. How much of that was due to his own natural instinct in the game, and how much of it was due to droning and information being gathered by his teammates for him?
I would say it's both. We let Alive a lot of freedom about what he can do. He can do basically whatever he wants. So we drone for him, we give him information, and when he feels it's the right move to do, he does so.
Yeah, and he definitely did quite a bit of damage. I mean, Vitality were not really expecting him at all with his flanks. Now, there is a specific round, in round number 9, when you guys were attacking into the basement. You spotted that there was the clash in the Ella that were both playing on the Archives stairs. Why did it take so long for there to be a reaction from the Zofia, the Thermite, and the IQ coming in from sewers to clean them up? And how come the Thermite was lost there that ultimately ended up in the loss of the whole round?
I think we wanted to make sure we took no risk by killing the clash. So we took quite a while to figure a way to get her. But we finally did it, losing only the Thermite. But even with Thermite down, it was still possible to win. But I agree with you, we should have taken less time to do this.
Now, what do you think about that Clash Ella combo on the stairs? Because especially yourself being a veteran of the French scene, we've seen a lot of this sort of play with Panics in the day where you would have a shield kind of pioneered that sort of play with the Ella on the stairs. How do you think Clash molds with this? Does it make it a lot more difficult for you to deal with, or how?
This position, even without Clash, is already really good for the defender, really hard to attack, especially with Gmot Mine. But Clash allows Ella to get even more information because she can push at the top of the stairs. Even when the attackers are all good to go, they can still slow down the enemy, have a good cover in front, in the middle of the stairs. So yeah, that's a really good combo to play the stairs.
Okay, well, anything you'd like to add at the end of the playdate, something to your fans after this first victory in the season?
We did it, finally.
Bien joué. And?
Merci.
Anything else? No,
nothing special. Thanks to all Supremacy fans who still believe in us, even though we had a real bad season. We can promise that we will be back as soon as possible. We will work hard and go back from Challenger League to Pro League as soon as possible.
Well, hopefully you guys can go through that. Of course, you still retain a spot in Challenger League for the next season, and hopefully we can go through and watch your progression, as indeed you did go through Challenger League in the previous season to make it into Pro League. Proven it in the past, why not in the future? So again, congratulations, Anthrax, and hopefully we get to see you yet another time on here. Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit.
Well, as much as it is an auspicious day for Supremacy getting that win, it's also a sad day. I mean, no matter how you look at it, they're still out. It's done for them. And congrats to them for their victory, managing to end the season not completely swept. You know, one win is better than none, but it's still over.
Yeah, well, with that, that is our third matchup done for the day. We still have one more, and oh boy, is it an exciting one, Michael. We get to see two giants facing off against one another. It's none other than Team Secret versus Mocket. We'll be back in just a bit.